everybody, thanks for coming back to join me for my Facebook Friday video. This is a recorded video, but I have an awesome project that I want to share with you today. So first thing I want to do is do the draw for all the people that shared the video last week. So if you're new to joining my Facebook Friday video, be sure to hit the share button at the bottom and share it with your friends for a chance to win one of 2 prizes. So last week I had a bunch of people share and I put their names in this basket. And I'm going to do the draw right now. So let's get started. The winners will win a package of embellishments, some pre-cut paper, ribbon, and these cute little bows to match with adhesive already on the back. Okay, let's get started. So the first winner, whoops, sorry, had 2 in my hand. Make sure I only got 1. And I dropped it on the floor. Okay, sorry. It's Paula. Paula, congratulations, Paula. You're one of the winners of the embellishment package. And the second winner for Facebook Friday is Colleen. Colleen and Paula, congratulations, ladies. Thanks for sharing my video last week. And if you're joining me today, please be sure, like I said, to share again. And up for grabs this week, I have a package of mini tassels that you can win. And as well, I have an old embossing folder. This one, I don't even remember the name of it, you guys, but it's a gorgeous folder. It puts the this impression all around the edges so you can stamp in the middle if you wanted to. So if you missed out on this folder, this is a retired one and you could win it this week if you just share my video. So those 2 prizes will be up for grabs this week. Today I want to share with you a technique because the product of the week this week is the designer series paper, and as you guys know, there's a sale on the paper right now. So if you buy 3 packages, you get the 4th for free. So I wanted to feature a fun thing that you can do with designer series paper. So I've picked one of my favorite 6x6 pads. I've picked up 1 sheet. So 1 sheet, this is called a 1-sheet wonder technique I'm going to show you today. So I'm going to flip the camera and get started, and we're going to make 4 cards out of 1 sheet of designer series paper. So if you have paper at home, even if it's 12 by 12 and you cut it into quarters, you can actually make 16 cards out of it, okay? So let's get started and I will flip the camera. Hi Stampers, let's get started. Okay, so Facebook Friday, here we go. I have a fun technique that uses one of my favorite products from the new catalog. I'm just going to open up my catalog here and show you. It is called Tropical Escape. And look at this on these 2 pages. So you have stamp set called Tropical Chic and the matching framelits. Down here, thin dies, and we're going to play with the designer series paper as well as the ribbon and the matching cardstock. So we're going to play with everything on this page today, on these pages. And let me just get started and bring in the stamp set. Okay, so this is Tropical Chic right here, all these fun stamps. And then the framelits, thinlits, are these lovely little dies here. So we have an outline of the leaf, and then you can also cut the inside. Same thing with this one. And then this little spiky one, we'll play with this one today too. And then you've got this awesome frame here as well that'll cut out the leaves, and you can also use it with the embossing mat to emboss the background. And then this one coordinates with the fun little flower there, this one up here. So let's get started with this one because I've got 4 cards to show you, and we're going to play with the designer series paper. So there's a matching designer series paper. It comes in a 6x6 pad. I'm just going to flip through the different patterns so you can see all the gorgeous, gorgeous floral and leaf images. Like, it just screams Hawaii when I look at this paper. I love it. So the Blushing Bride and the Granny Apple Green and the Shaded Spruce, these are the main colors that are in this paper, and it's double-sided, and I just love it. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make 4 cards out of 1 sheet of cards of this designer series paper. And this is the pattern I've chosen to feature on my 4 cards. Now this technique is called a 1-sheet wonder. And the reason it's a 1-sheet wonder is because you're just using 1 sheet and you're going to make lots of different projects with it. So there's a cutting template that I will post on my blog, and I'm going to share with you because I'm actually going to cut everything now in front of you so you can see how to make the 4 cards. So this is the template that I used. So this is my 6x6 template. So you will just take your designer series paper and we're going to cut it according to this template, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing you want to do is bring in the paper cutter And I'm going to cut, my first cut is going to be at 2 1/4 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my paper cutter. All right, so line this up at the 2 1/4 inch mark. That's my first cut. Okay, so I'm just following along here. This is the first cut. And then the second cut is going to be this strip here that's left over. So we've got a bottom piece here that I cut at 2 1/4. Now this big top piece, the second cut, is going to be at 2 inches. So I just want to pull it into my paper cutter here, and we're going to cut it at 2 inches. So I got this piece and this piece. My third cut is going to be with the big piece. I'm going to line it up at the 1 inch mark, and I'm going to cut off this strip. So what I want to do is get all my pieces, and then I'll show you how it all lays out. So this is my third cut to get this 1 inch piece, and then this piece here is done, and my bottom piece, which I cut, remember I cut it off at 2 1/4. My third cut is going to be, no, I already did my third cut. Third cut was to cut the 1 inch strip off. This one at the bottom, I just want to cut it at 2 inches, okay? So I'm just going to bring that back in here and cut it at 2 inches. So then I got a piece left over that measures 4 by 2 1/4, okay? And I've got a 2 and a 2 1/4 inch piece. And then the last cut, the fourth cut, is to take this piece, which measures 2 inches by 3 3/4. I'm going to cut it at, hold on one second. Where do I cut it? So this one is 2 inches. Yes, my fourth cut is at 1 1/2. I had it written right there. So at 1 1/2. So I'm going to bring that back in and cut it at 1 1/2. Okay. All right, I'm going to put all this back together into my, this will be on my blog. You can print it off and it will show you which cuts to make first. So 1, and then 2, 3, and then your fourth cut is this little one right here. So let's piece them all back together, and I'll show you how there's no wastage at all, okay? So I've got this piece, this 1 inch piece, this piece here, this one here goes like this one along the bottom, and then like this, okay? So these are the pieces that I'm going to need to make my 4 cards, okay? So let's make card number 1 first. Card number 1 uses this rectangle down here. So I'm just going to put my pieces aside for a second. I'm going to bring in my cardstock. So these cards are only going to use 1 sheet of designer series paper and 2 sheets of cardstock. So I've got Blushing Bride and our new Shaded Spruce. So let's cut those in half and we'll get 4 cards out of them, okay? So I'm just going to bring the Shaded Spruce in and line it up at the 5 1/2 inch mark. Cut that in half. There's 2 Shaded Spruce cards. Now the Blushing Bride, I'm going to line it up at the 4 1/4 inch mark. Cut that in half. Now I've got 2 cards. The scoring, I'm going to do them a little differently. So for this card, I'm going to score in half at the 5 1/2 inch mark. So my card will look like the normal A2 size. And then this one, I'm going to score it at 5 1/2, but I'm also going to pull it back and score it at 2 3/4. This is going to be a different kind of a fold, okay? So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to fold it in half like I normally do, but then this extra score line that I just made, I'm going to fold it backwards like this. So it's going to be a fold like that, like a little bit of a Z fold, okay? So put those aside. Now my 2 Shaded Spruce cards, I'm just going to score those normally, just like at 4 1/4. So there's 1 card, and then my second card, bring that in, and I'm going to score that at 4 1/4. All right, so those are my 4 card bases, and I'm done with my paper cutter, so I can move that out of the way. So the card number 1 uses that 1 inch strip from the side, or no, sorry, card number 1 is my fancy fold one. So it's going to use the piece from the bottom of my template, this one down here. So it's going to measure 4 by 2 1/4. Yes, 2 1/4. Okay, so 4 by 2 1/4, and that's going to go right on this flap here. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that down right on the Blushing Bride flap. Then what I also have for this card, I'm just going to move my other card base off to the side. So we're just going to work on one card at a time. So for this card, I have an inside piece for the inside right here. And I'm going to stamp it with the stamps. Now what I have here is the leaf, this big fern. It's like a little, like a fern image. And I'm going to bring in the Granny Apple Green ink pad. This is one of our new colors. I love this color. It's a really nice, it's a nice bright green. And oh, I just love it. It's a little different than Old Olive, very similar to Old Olive, but a little bit brighter. So what I want to do here is I'm going to stamp one in this corner, and I'm also going to stamp one coming down in this corner. And I've got my little Stampin' sponge. I'm going to dip into my ink pad, and I'm going to sponge some Granny Apple Green all around the sides. There we go. All right, so let's see what's next. I'm going to stick that down. That's going to be the inside of my card. And I don't need my stamp anymore, so I can move that out of the way. So I'm just going to open up my card, and I'm going to stick that right on the inside, just like that. Okay, so there's my card. This is how it opens. And for the outside, I've done a bunch of die cutting before I went on camera, so you wouldn't have to watch me do multiple die cuts. So what I did was I cut myself a scallop circle in Granny Apple Green. Then I cut myself a stitched circle using the stitched framelits. And from the stamp set, there is this one right here. It says, "You Are the Greatest." So I want to use that one. I'm going to bring in my Memento ink here. And "You Are the Greatest." And I'm going to just stamp that in the middle, just like that. And this little die cut here I cut out of Granny Apple Green. And I also stamped that flower, gorgeous flower. I stamped it in Petal Pink, okay? So I'm going to use that on my die cut. But first I want to sponge the edges of this with Granny Apple Green. So just quickly grab my sponge and just ink up the edges, no sides on a circle. It's a circle. Okay, so I'm just inking up the edges of my circle, and then I'm going to stick that down on my layer of my Granny Apple Green. And then I don't need this whole twig because it's kind of a little bit big. So I'm actually going to just use my scissors. What do I do with my scissors? Here they are. I'm going to snip off the bottom portion of this little fern because I think it's a little bit long. I'm going to add some adhesive to the bottom part of my circle. And then I'm just going to bring that little twig in, little fern in right there like that. And I'm just using snail. I think it'll be fine for this. Actually, I put the snail on there, but what I really want is a dimensional. I do want to put a dimensional there for my flower. So I'm going to pop up my flower with a Stampin' Dimensional, pull off the wax paper, and then I can stick my flower on top of the fern and it'll look like it's popped up. Okay, now I'm ready to put that onto my card. So the way this is going to go, it's going to sit right on the edge of this score line here. So I'm just going to pull off my little wax bits, and I'm going to lay this circle down right on that edge. And there's my first card using the first piece from my 6x6 Designer Series paper. Okay, so that's card number 1. I'll just put that aside for a second. Card number 2 is going to use, I'll bring back my template and show you. Card number 2 is going to be these 2 squares right here, which measure 2 by 2 1/4, okay? And we're going to use our Shaded Spruce card base for that one, okay? So let's find those 2 squares. They are right here. Now, you know it's double-sided, so I want to try to do a card now with these pieces flipped the opposite way, okay? So I'm going to put one at the top and one at the bottom, just like that. So flip it over and put some adhesive on the back. And Go ahead and put these down like this. Love that, the different shades coming through there. I can almost see even lemon lime twist in there, even though it's not listed. I think lemon lime twist would go really, really nicely with the granny apple green and the shaded spruce. Looks really sharp. Now, before I went on camera, I actually cut myself a square scallop square, and I have a stitched square, and I'm going to turn it on a diagonal, and I think I want this one to be a thank you card. So I'm going to bring in my thank you stamp, and let's stamp that one in shaded spruce. So there's my shaded spruce ink. Open it like a compact, and I'm going to pull that in, ink up the thank you, and I'm just going to sit down here for a second, and there we go. I'm just going to stamp that straight in the middle like that. And I went ahead also and I cut myself a shaded spruce fern, and I want that to sit at the bottom. And I'm going to snip off, just like I did with the other card, just snip off a little bit of the fern just to make it shorter, and add some snail and just add it to the bottom just like that. And then remember this little spiky fern? I cut that one in the granny apple green. I'm going to go ahead and layer that on top of the fern. I think I'll point it down, just because when it goes on top of the shaded spruce, it might make it pop a little bit more. I have another flower. I cut myself 4 of these because I knew I was making 4 cards. So I just went ahead and cut 4, thought I would use them, and I did. So that's my little front embellishment. Now all I have to do is mount it onto my granny apple green scallop square, and we're good to go. So here we go. I'm just going to put that down on here like this, and bring in some dimensionals. This is a quick, easy card. Actually, all of these are pretty quick. Once you have that cutting template and you cut your pieces, this will go really, really fast. Okay, so I'm adding 4 dimensionals. Just going to peel off the wax paper, just like that. And I'm going to bring back my card base, and I'm going to lay this right here in the middle, kind of in the middle, like that. There is card number 2, using 2 of the squares from that piece of designer series paper. Moving right along, now let's do card number 3. Let's go back to our Blushing Bride. So we have Blushing Bride, another piece of the cardstock. Remember, you get 2 out of that big sheet. So for this one, I'm pulling my template. I actually just have the strip, okay? The 1 inch by 3 3/4 inch strip, but I'm gonna flip it and use this beautiful side here. And so what I've done is I've cut myself a piece of Whisper White that measures 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and that's gonna be the front of my card, okay? So I don't like the naked white edge, so I'm gonna dip it into the granny apple green again, and I'll quickly just sponge this just to make it have some more dimension, and it'll pop really nicely against that Blushing Bride background, okay? So got that done. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and add my adhesive right to the Whisper White, and then come in with the designer series paper and add that just like that. Now if you make a little boo-boo like I did and you're a little bit too long, you can just bring your scissors in and trim like that. Okay, we have this gorgeous granny apple green ribbon. See that? It is called Textured Weave. You can see there's quite a bit of texture in that. So I'm going to take my cardstock, flip it over, add a little bit of adhesive coming up the sides here, and I'm going to do, because I'm going to do a faux bow, I'm not going to add any adhesive on the front. I'm just going to lay my ribbon where I want it to sit. I'm going to wrap it around. I've done this before on camera. I think you guys probably can remember. And I'm going to snip it off and stick it just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down on my card, because to do a faux bow, I think it's easier to do it when it's actually stuck down on the card. I'm going to put this onto my Blushing Bride layer, just like so. And I'm going to cut myself another piece, probably about 4.5 inches, just to give myself room to tie. slip that underneath the ribbon, and I'm just going to tie myself a little knot. Just a simple knot. There, just like that. And then I'm just going to trim off my ends on a bit of an angle. There we go. And there's my card front. Whoops. Seems to have shifted on me. And you know, one of the good things about snail, it is a bit forgiving. You can, if this was one of our former adhesives, namely Fast Fuse, I might not be able to do that. But I did add quite a bit of glue to this. So I'm not sure if I can pull this up. Yes, I can. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this up and try to straighten it up a little bit here. I went a little bit wonky on that one. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. We do need a greeting on here. So this stamp set has this awesome one with much love and thanks. I really like this, and it's a nice long one. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to stamp that in the Granny Apple Green. So I'm pulling my Granny Apple Green ink pad here, and I ink that up, and I'm going to stamp it right about just a little bit higher than the center of the card. And I think I might be off camera here. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I've got a bit of an edge. Okay, no problem. That's okay. So with love and thanks, try not to rock your stamp like I did. And I went ahead and cut myself a couple of three other of the dies. This one kind of looks like the back of a turtle. This one, this fern again, and another flower, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put just a bunch of adhesive right on my card. It just makes it faster. And you could use glue dots to stick these down, but for the purpose of the video, I thought it would be faster if I just used a whole bunch of snail. I'm gonna stick this one over top of the shaded spruce fern. And then my flower, I'm gonna pop that on dimensional. And my card number 3 is just about done. Yay! And there's card number 3 using the 1-inch strip at the top. Okay, we're on to the last card. Card number 4 is going to bring back I'm going to bring back the shaded spruce card. And this one's going to be orientated this way. Okay, I'm going to turn it and it's going to sit this way with the spine at the top. Now, the only pieces I have left from my 6x6 piece are these two. So I was thinking, why not use one side of one and the other, flip the other side of the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down here on the left side of my card. This will be the left panel, just like that. And then this one I'm going to put down here. Just kind of line it up with the bottom. Then I have this blank space, so I measured it and I want it to be like this. So what was this measurement? I believe, I'm just going to pull my ruler in, double check my measuring here. It's 2 inches by 2 inches, so it's a square, and that's going to sit right in that corner. But first I want to stamp on it, and I love that You Are the Greatest stamp. So I'm going to bring that back in, and I'm going to stamp it again in Memento ink. This time I'm going to stamp it close to the top of that square, just like that. Okay, so put the lid on my Memento so I don't have an accident. And I'm going to sponge the edges again with Granny Apple Green. Okay, there we go. So now I am going to decorate this again with some of those gorgeous, gorgeous die cuts from the Tropical Chic. Now I have the fern, and I have that spiky one, and I also have the flower. So the fern is a little bit big for that square. Just going to snip off the bottom 1/3, I guess, and then do the same thing. Add some adhesive to the bottom of my square and put that little sprig there. I'm in love with these dies, you guys. I think I'm going to be using them all the time. It's nice to actually, when you get a new stamp set and a new thinlet or framelit set, to cut a whole bunch of them and then sit down and create. I find it works a lot better than continuously going back to the Big Shot, cutting out one image at a time. And Stampin' Up! Makes it so easy because they tell us the colors that are included in the designer series paper, so then you can pull in those colors of cardstock and cut yourself a bunch of dies and be ready to go to make a whole bunch of fun cards or scrapbook pages or whatever, home decor, whatever you're making. So let's go ahead and put that square down just like that. Love that. I love the 3 panels. So that's card number 4. So these are my 4 cards. Let's pull them all back in and see how they look. So we had card number 4, card number 3, 2, and 1. There you have it, guys. These are the 4 cards that I made out of 1 sheet of designer series paper. What do you guys think? So I will post I'll post some pictures of this template with the cutting instructions, and you guys can have fun cutting your own 6x6 designer series paper and making a bunch of cards with them. I'd love to see what you're making. Please send me a line, drop me a message, post pictures of your cards. I'd love to see them. Thanks so much for watching my Facebook Friday. Actually recorded Facebook Friday, and don't forget to share. Press the button at the bottom here and share the video for your chance to win one of my fun prizes. I'll be back again next week, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye-bye.